Hi, everybody. Welcome to Coming Out with Liz and Eddie. I'm Eddie Connor.
And I'm Liz Lyu.
This episode is number 2, and it's all about your spiritual helpers. Have you ever felt like your spirit guides just gave up on you? They don't want nothing else to do with you anymore because you acting all weird and stuff? Well, this show is going to be how you can reconnect with them, realign with them, and have fun asking for more spiritual guidance.
And also to know that you already have spirit guides with you all the time. And there is an unconditional love existing already.
That's
you don't
right.
have to earn it. It's there.
It
and
is.
they're always helping you, whether you want to or not. Right?
Right. What she said. I'm Eddie.
And I'm Liz.
And join us so you can find out how to communicate with your spiritual guides in a fun, easy, lighthearted way. Okay?
For sure.
Okay. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Edward?
Yes. Be careful. I don't want your water to break. Yeah. So I want to ask you a question for real.
Okay, for real.
Do you think that we...
No. What? Okay,
Do
sorry.
you think we choose our lives before we're born?
Yes, I do.
Why do you think that? Because a lot of people don't think that.
Maybe, I don't know if it's my training. When I said that I started going to class and learning from different teachers, but I really believe that before we come to this earth, we choose our parents because it gives us the opportunity. We choose the parents that would best give us the experience that we want on this earth, that will give us what we need in order to accomplish the goals that we set for ourselves before we come into this earth.
Wow.
That's what we do.
I love that.
And I really believe that is the truth. And as I say it to you, I feel it throughout my whole body that is the truth. And for example, my daughter and son-in-law just had a baby. And before he came to this earth, little Apollo, I'm sure he chose his parents. And they are the ones that he chose to give him the experience that he will need in order to accomplish all he needs to accomplish in this life. Whether it be, you can even say whether it's bad or good, or it has the appearance of being bad, it is the experience without any judgment on it that will give us what we need. By the time we leave this earth, we would have done that. And sometimes we are able to accomplish all of that, and sometimes not. And it's okay.
It is, because there's no judgment
No.
in non-physical. That's sort of reserved for humans.
Yeah.
You know what I heard somebody say one time? Because we have lives on this planet, we have lives on other planets throughout the universe too. And then we have lives between those lives.
So you're saying, simultaneous experience on many different dimensions of experience. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay.
And we are trained on Earth to focus in a 3-dimensional format.
Yeah.
And I believe too that before we're born, we work with our soul group.
I believe that too. We work with our soul, our soul family.
Yes.
Soul group, soul family, or you called it soul tribe.
What soul tribe? Our pre-birth planning group. And
our guardian angel. I mean, however you want to say your guardian angel or your guides. Because like so many times people go to their a psychic or to who's my spirit guide or whatever. And it could be, an old relative, that has passed away, or it could be someone who's never had physical experience.
That's right.
From the angelic realm, or from somebody from the Devic kingdom.
Yeah. That
could help them. So you were saying, I'm sorry before I interrupted.
Oh, no. I'm just totally in the same boat with you on it. I had an experience whenever I was a kid.
Can you move back a little bit? No, I'm kidding.
You may like back out of the room
boat?
quietly.
No.
I had this experience when I was growing up, and I had forgotten it. Then I had the experience again in my 20s once I woke back up.
Yeah.
Because I begged that my intuitive gifts would be all stripped away. Because
let me interrupt you.
Yeah.
What do you mean when you say when I woke back up? Because that's kind of like blaring to me. You need to explain to our audience what that means.
I was born woke. Meaning woke up, spiritual guides, angels, the light, dead people I didn't know, dead people I did know, disincarnate voices telling me to get off the school bus to leave school at lunch that day.
Oh, yeah.
And then after school, after lunch, I called Mom and I went to my grandma's house. And then that day after school, that bus fell off a cliff.
Oh, Lord.
So I was born a third generation psychic. But
is that in your family?
yes. So it's me and my mom and her mother.
Yeah.
But her mother was the conservative, hellfire brimstone. She's going to beat you with her Bible belt and send you back to the bowels of hell. That was
Can
just
you say
one
that again
strike.
3 times really fast?
I don't think so. So it was like, she was like, God knows what you're thinking.
Oh, yeah.
And so I was woke and taught that it was bad. And then I was super woke and was super psychic until I was a teenager, my mid-teens. And then I just said, please go away. So
that's when you said, well, you have choice.
Oh, yeah.
You have choice. You don't have to do this. So if you have a gift and you have these things happening to you, you don't have to do it. I mean, sometimes it just happens and it doesn't go away. But you can ask at a certain point, can we not do this?
And again, when we were growing up, there were no books that I was aware of.
Yeah.
But I mean, I read Carrie because her
That's
mother.
the wrong book.
I know.
That's a horror novel.
And The Shining.
Oh, that's another horror novel.
I mean, I read that book like this. I was going like,
Edward.
Red rum. And then I read this little short story that came in True Confessions magazine over the summer while we were out of school. Okay. Sophisticated reading. And it was called Where Has Jessica Gone? And it was about a poltergeist that was haunting this family. And I was like, I don't like any of this.
Yeah.
Because I didn't have any good role models.
Yeah.
And then in my super early 20s, I woke back up. Thanks for helping me clarify that. Woke back up. And the psychic doors and windows blew back open.
So you desired it to come back. You were interested.
It wasn't my desire.
It was not.
It just came back.
Okay, so it doesn't go away. Even though you say, I don't want to do this.
Exactly.
When it comes up, you can say, no. And that's another story I'll tell you later.
Yeah, it just hibernates.
Yeah.
It hibernates.
Yeah.
And then it started rearing its head again. And then I started reading the books and taking the classes and listening to the cassette tapes and the CDs and the VHS tapes.
Oh, yeah.
And
Betamax. I did.
Some classes.
Me too.
And that's when I woke back up to it that I, again, learned that you could direct it. And then learned, which is the whole topic of the show, was our spiritual helpers. We have these spiritual helpers. In the interim, I had this twice memory of before I was born.
Wow.
Sitting on
That's amazing.
Twig. It was a tree, but it was a branch on the tree. It was, my guide was on the left, I was in the middle, and my sister, who was lost during the pregnancy with me.
Okay, you had a twin.
Yeah. She and I were sitting together with the spirit guide. And it's wintertime. There's no leaves. It's at nighttime. And there's this old house. And then there's a basement window. And we're sitting and I'm looking through the basement window from the tree. The basement window's down here. And I saw this man beating this woman, like viciously. And I'm like, why are we watching this? Well, I don't understand. He said, that's your mother. And this is the parent you're going to choose to be with. And you blah, blah, blah. And I don't remember anything after that till I was in my 20s. And it was, my mom hated men. And she did not trust men. And she gave birth to 4 boys.
Well, interesting.
And she attracted some really bad relationships before she found the really good relationship.
Yeah.
And my whole paradigm with my mom is to help her trust
men again.
Bobby. Yeah, to trust Bobby.
Bobby.
Yeah, to trust men again for real. And and that we would just have a I immediately had the heart connection.
Yeah.
And then I went back and studied and figured out more. So that was one of my spirit guides in the beginning that I didn't even know about. Now, this is slightly off topic, but I'm dying to ask you.
Yeah.
Did you ever do past life regressions?
It's so funny. I tried it a few times, but I found that when I went to someone else, like a hypnotherapist, during my process of learning to do it, it didn't really work well for me. But when I was learning how to become a trance channel,
yes,
that is when it happened spontaneously, that I would see my past lives, sometimes 4 or 5 lifetimes. I would see the beginning when I was born, the middle, and the end when I died. And it would just constantly go in like this. It was very intense.
And it flashes like
but I
like
knew
a strobe light.
But I knew everything when it happened
and felt
during that time, and I felt it all. Like that one time I told you when I was running in the jungle. I was a female, and I was running in the jungle, and somebody was after me, and I was perspiring, and I was feeling all of that and the fear. And I remember the next thing, I remember laying on a slab.
Ooh,
and
at the mouth of a volcano?
No, inside of a temple. But the temple, it was interesting because it was like a 2-story, and I was down in the bottom on top of the slab, and they were cutting out my heart. I remember that. And but that was one of them. But
do you remember the lesson from that one, or the purpose of it? Because each one has, I'd say that you get the beginning, middle, and the end, and the little snippets, the little flashes like you talked about, and then you bring it back and how it's applicable to this lifetime.
Don't let somebody cut out your heart.
Don't go walking out in the jungle by your damn self.
No, I mean,
I've been walking through the jungle going, Hercules.
No, seriously. I think what it was the victim. It has to do with the victim, and it has to do also with a religious,
child
cult, some sort of cult that I was involved with. And I was so young, I didn't quite understand that I was going to be the victim.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Wow. They give you your favorite thing for dinner, your favorite beverage, and said, oh, yeah, there's one other thing.
But interesting how it all comes back. It comes round and round and round again. So, yeah, during that time when I was learning how to channel, I think that's when I had my most intense. I lied. Even when I was growing up, I had very intense experiences. I just didn't have anyone to speak about it with.
Oh, yeah.
Or talk about it with. Because especially my dream life was very, very vivid. And I think that when I was 19, and that's when I started having waking visions.
Ooh.
And it was shocking to me, because I wasn't really focused on developing my spirituality, my psychic awareness, but all of a sudden it was like a camera that clicked in my head, and I could see 2 screens at once, and I was seeing danger for someone driving down, and I knew who it was, driving down La Cienega. We're in Los Angeles, so driving down, and I could see the anxiety was like building up, and all of a sudden, boom, they had an accident.
No.
And it was very terrible, and then it stopped. Then it almost like the camera just stopped. But I was in my own experience, but that other experience opened up like in my head.
Was it like a hologram?
No.
The vision of it, like a hologram, or you have the real reality here, then you have the hologram going here.
Yeah, it's just like it's like something opens up. It like automatically opens up.
And where did you
see it?
Where did you feel it at in your body when you saw it?
I'm a full body channel.
Wow.
So yeah.
Oh, child, she a full body channel, honey.
Stop it. But you know what I'm talking about. You
Yeah.
feel it. You feel it. You hear it. You sense it. You smell it.
You
all
are
of that.
it.
You're it, because you are the vessel. You are the channel. So you feel that. It just happens spontaneously. So later on, I find out that the person I was dating did indeed have an accident that day. And I was seeing him like 5 days later, but he told me he had an accident. He almost got decapitated.
Oh, God.
So it didn't happen, thank the gods, but it was all good. But those are the things that would happen, you know. But mainly when I came back to this country, because I lived outside of the country for many years, and I started to really focus on, I want to learn more about this. I want to know the truth.
Yeah. So we both believe in spiritual helpers. We just do because we've had experiences with them before we were taught by adults what they are. And if you're just tuning in, you're watching the Liz and Eddie show. I'm Eddie Connor.
And I'm Liz Layu.
And we are totally talking about spiritual helpers from the other side.
Okay, so tell me this, Edward. When you were growing up, did you hear voices tell you and warn you to do something or not to do something, warn you not to go someplace, or told you don't do this because you were doing something you shouldn't be doing? Or
I never did anything I shouldn't have been doing.
Okay, I don't believe that.
Me either. But I for sure would get guidance, like with the school bus, and they just built this new fresh dirt road.
Sure.
And it was super, super high. It was super, super long, but it was all dirt. And our bus driver was trying to get across it, and I saw like 30 construction guys losing their mind with her. And they were like, oh my God, oh, like this. And I was like looking out the window down at the bottom of the big hill, and I heard a man's voice outside of me say, leave school after lunch today. And I looked around like little Jimmy went through puberty overnight, because this was elementary school.
Oh, yeah.
And it wasn't. There were no men on the bus. And the men outside of the bus were way on the other side of the ravine. And I just went to looking back out the window again, and then outside of me louder and a more booming.
It got more intense,
yes,
right?
And it was like, leave school after lunch today.
That's right.
And I'm like, okay. I remember because it was chocolate oatmeal cookie day.
Oh.
I wasn't going to leave school until I had my chocolate oatmeal homemade cookie.
Okay.
And I forgot about it. I completely forgot the whole thing. Had lunch. And as soon as I finished my lunch, I remembered, like, I got a download. And I was like,
it's like a download.
Yeah, and I was a kid that I was the good kid.
Yeah, I was a good kid.
I did everything I was told and tried to do it better than anybody else so that I wouldn't get in trouble.
Of course.
And now I'm going to my teacher and saying to her, Miss Swift, I'm like, Miss Swift, I have to go to the office. I'm sick. And I just started crying, just tears. And then I went to the office, and they called Mom. Mom picked me up, and as soon as I saw my mom, I really started crying. And she took me to Grandma's house, and Grandma put me behind the wood stove. Very loving grandmother. I'm not going to talk about her mustache. And put me behind the wood stove, and then she sent me outside to snap peas under the 2 oak trees on a pallet with a 5-gallon slop bucket snapping peas. And I heard the back door slam, and you didn't make direct eye contact with my grandma. It's like those raptors from Jurassic Park. You know better. And she comes walking out, and I can feel her energy, and I'm snapping peas like a mofo, snapping. And I'm looking down, and then I could see the holes in her tennis shoes standing there, her garden shoes, we call them.
Yeah.
And she said, what bus do you ride? And I told her my bus number, and she's like, I knew you weren't sick today. And I went, ma'am? Snap. And she said, your bus just fell off a cliff. And she turned around, and she walked right back in the house and never said another word. And I thought, dang, when Mama gets here, she's going to tell Mama that I'm going to get a whipping. I don't know why, but that's just what you do in the South. I love you. Give me 3 switches.
I know.
And Mama never talked about it. Yeah. Grandma never talked about it.
So they all know that it was in your family.
Yeah, 3 generations on one side, and some mental illness and schizophrenia on my dad's side.
Yeah.
But that was the most profound one. But I have heard them my whole life. Sometimes inside, sometimes outside, and sometimes outside really, really loud.
Yeah.
like it pushing you.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Even that, me also, I had those same experiences.
And they just showed me this. I just can't believe I forgot it.
What?
Back in the day, I was thin and cute, and I went. I was cleaning up after the nightclub because I worked at the club.
Sure.
And I had to walk around the parking lot with my best friend Tim, and we were cleaning up the parking lot and the 5 parking garage
So how old
structure.
are you then?
I'm in my mid-20s, 24, 25, 26.
Okay, so you've already started moving into this path.
Yeah, and this is like 3, and the only person I told at the time was my best friend Tim.
Mm-hmm.
And so Tim was like, "You're so strange." I'm like, "You sound like my mom. Edward, you're my strange child." And we're picking up garbage and awful things that you see in a parking lot in a nightclub at
a certain time of the night, yeah.
And 3 or 4 guys came walking out from behind hedges and walked up to Tim and I, and were carrying garbage cans, and put something in my back and said, "Motherfucker, we're going to kill you." And I don't even know how to describe this. Mm-hmm. The second I saw one of the 4's eyes, I knew that we're up to no good. Mm-hmm. I just knew that I knew that I knew.
Yeah.
But I also knew that I knew that I knew that I could not let them know that I knew.
Yeah.
Now, Tim, little Miss Tammy's like, "Oh." And then one of them put the thing in my back. And the moment they did that, I was out of my body. Mm-hmm. And I don't know how I can't even describe this. And I went between, it was like they were around us like this. Mm-hmm. Tim and I were in the middle. And my energy went whoosh, completely through them and in and out of them. And I knew that we weren't going to be hurt.
Yeah.
But I also knew not to be stupid.
Not to be, aggressive.
And so it's a gay bar. And they're wanting to do some damage to,
to the gay bars.
Yes.
Yeah.
And they wanted money. I said, "I don't have any money." And I said, "Listen, I don't know why you think I'm gay." I didn't say that. I said, "I talk like they would talk." Mm-hmm. And Tim's looking at me like, "Queen, are you crazy?" And I was like, "We're straight. We work here. We're not stupid. We get paid lots of money in tips, but we haven't got paid yet. Let me go in and I can get you something. Hold on." And Tim and I walked inside, told the 2 police officers, and they were captured. They got caught.
Oh, thank the Lord.
And it was just this feeling, knowing, a deep, deep, deep knowing, feeling that, again, everything's going to be okay, to hold your space. Mm-hmm. And this is a weird thing that I find with spiritual helpers. They remind you to stay not on the good or the bad side, not on the right or the wrong side, not on the judge or not judge side, but in just pure awareness.
Yeah.
And so right in the middle of the road, just be in the moment. And because if you hold the space here, then you've outrun the energy of somebody who has the intention of doing harm.
Harm to you. Yeah.
And that's when I knew that I knew that I knew that I had spirit guides and helpers beyond a shadow of a doubt. Even though I've had experiences like that my whole life, that was the tipping point. Because I had the experience with Tim. And so it was a shared experience that blew my psychic perception doors and windows right off.
So that made you, for sure, this is it. I really have helpers.
And once I had that experience, you could not shut me up.
Yeah.
I dove headfirst into every aspect, every book, every class, everything, because I also knew in that moment that my life's work was to be educating people about the spirit world and the helpers available to them.
Yes. Yeah. I get that.
So when you were trance channeling, conscious channeling, trance channeling?
Well, it's, same.
But, what was the number one in all of the... See, he likes me.
I know.
So what was the number one thing in all of the years that you did that was the thing that kept coming up for your students as a channeler?
Oh, well, let me think. I think that trusting themselves, trusting trusting with the information that they get is correct, is true, and to allow the communication. You have to allow it. You can't stop it. You know, you have to work on your fear, because your fear is all the things you were taught when you were young. You have to unlearn them all.
That's literally what I'm hearing.
You literally have to unlearn everything and start over. And so part of this process, when, let's say, for example, I wanted to learn how to channel. I have to back up and say that when I first started and I was looking for a teacher, I remember I met this English girlfriend of mine, and I'm in the corporate world. We have a business I had a business with my husband, and we had, it was very corporate, but I did this, I said, I felt compelled, almost on fire. I have to say, it's almost on fire. And I felt compelled. This energy was there telling me to go do this. So
it consumes you.
It does. So I found a friend of mine who would go with me. She actually is the one who found the class. And so we said, okay, well, let's do this. And this is where they tested us. And so I said, okay, so for a couple of hours on a Saturday, I work Monday through Friday. So, okay, sure, I can get away. So we did this test, the both of us, and it just turns out that every test she gave me in the class, the teacher, I did it like that. It was like there was no trying. There was no trying. It just was.
Knowing.
Yeah, knowing.
Yeah.
I knew it. I felt it. I could do it. Psychometry, psychic reading.
It was like old home week for you.
It was.
It's just kind of like, I haven't done this in a couple of lifetimes.
She said, well, can you give a prediction for this person in the class? Sure, blah, 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 blah. And she goes, yes, that's true.
Wow. Was it that she wasn't wearing conditioner? What was it?
No, she wasn't wearing conditioner. She was going on a trip somewhere. I had no idea. It was actually for my friend. And she hadn't told me about it. I hadn't seen her in a while. We were just meeting up for this class. And so we got there just in time for the class. And then that's what happened.
So this is the fun part. Did you receive that as a vision, as a voice, as a knowing, as a feeling, or as an empath? That she was going on the trip?
All of the above.
Okay.
It happens simultaneously. It happens immediate. It's like an immediate thing. You don't have to wait. It just is.
Before you even take the breath in, you already know what you know that you know.
Exactly.
And she loves to travel. She's a globetrotter. And so we will attract clients often to us that mirror the things that we love too. And so that's just like oxygen to you.
Yeah.
So, okay, I'm totally getting a travel frequency with you.
Yeah. So in this case, with this person, when I did that test, then I said, okay, I can do all of this. Now, what do I want to do? So then this is where I started meeting people. They would invite me. Would you come here with me to go meet this person, and who happened to be a chance channeler? And then would you meet me to go meet this person? Would you do? And I would just meet all these people. It's synchronistic, not coincidental. Yeah. And every time I did it, it would just expand even more. So then finally, I think that when I did decide a very good teacher here is Sean Randall, Torah. She channels Torah. She's an amazing teacher. If ever you're looking for a teacher who teaches trance channeling, medium, she's wonderful. And so in this case, once I started and I connected with my spirit guide, the way that I started was by doing past life readings. And that's when I first started, because that was the way that I would know, because there was no way that I would know that is correct or not. It was giving me information from a previous incarnation or experience with somebody else or myself that there is no way that I would know. And then I would check it up in books. If I could, I would check the reference book and see what that means, or they would use words that I have never heard of.
Did you get into automatic writing too?
I did.
Because that will happen when you're automatic writing the terminologies, the vernacular, the old world English or whatever. It's
or even other
mind-blowing.
languages. Yeah, just words. And I would look it up and I go, oh my God, that's it. This is what this means. So it had a lot of signs where it verified all these experiences.
Yeah.
So that's when I knew, okay, I know I'm on the right path. Another thing that happens to me is that I'll have a vision of something ahead.
Yeah.
Like, again, as I told you, like it would just open up. It was never any people in it in the beginning. Never. It's only environments.
Wow.
It would only be like a road or a house or interiors of a house, but never people inside.
And then when it manifested down the road, it was like a deja vu for you.
It was like a sign. It's not even a deja vu. It was like a sign to me, because it's so interesting. When I was studying with Fatima Abate many years ago, she told me it was the way of your soul. Your soul has different ways of teaching you how to do things and how to guide you to go forward. And so in that way, that was, for me, everybody's individual. Everybody has different experience and different gifts. But for me, that was a way to move forward. And it verified to me that, yes, you're on the right path. You're on the right path.
I love that. I wonder if that's why we didn't do as well in school as just kids who were supposed to sit still and memorize.
Don't talk about me, okay? You're talking about yourself.
You're talking about, I am talking about yourself. For real, because I just had the worst time trying to, quote, pay attention because most of the teachers didn't want to be there. Not all of them, but most of them didn't want to be there. Yeah. And if you're the dominant frequency in the room, we're just going to mimic and follow your frequency. So I would look out the window or do things or draw angels or stuff on my paper and get in a lot of trouble. But soul school isn't like what we know here in the three-dimensional school educational system. It is exactly what you said. It's soul contoured to your frequency prior to being born in a physical apparatus.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, you are a culmination of all your lives, and you're only experiencing this much while you're here. So if you're only experiencing this much while you're here, think of all that you are. It's amazing. But I have to say, for me, I had a really easy time in school, because for me it was easier to focus on the books and information to keep me on the straight and narrow. Mm-hmm. I love school, but I had a very difficult time socializing.
Oh God, yeah.
That was my problem in school. I had a very difficult time in that way.
Did you find a soul tribe in school ever? Like mine was, surprise, surprise, marching band and theater and art class.
I think I did. I did near the end of school. Yes, I did. A few girls that we were separated. Girls and boys were separated in our school.
Why? What'd you do?
Nothing. That's just how it was. We were in a Catholic school, and the girls were on one side, and then boys were on the other side. And then I think only when we became seniors was the first time they integrated the school. So we had boys in our class, but it was always girls only.
I think I would like that, to be honest. Well, I like girls. I always hung out with the girls.
Yeah.
Well, and all of my friends, well, nobody knew I was gay at the time, but they're like, how come you hang out with all the hot chicks? And I'm like, because I'm no threat, obviously.
Obviously.
When are you going to invite me to football camp? I didn't want to play football. So I'm curious.
Yes.
Let's talk about, we both believe in spiritual helpers from the other side. So here are some of them, and I want you to tell me the one that jumps out for you the most. Angels.
Yes.
Dead people. Soul.
Yes.
Soul groups.
Yep.
Pre-birth plans.
That one, I believe in that, but not so much experience with that in that way.
Nature spirits.
Maybe we call it different names. Oh, yeah, definitely nature spirit.
Definitely spirit guides.
Yes.
Your council of elders.
Absolutely. Absolutely, I've seen that.
Master teachers.
Yes, absolutely.
Our spirit in and of itself. Uh-huh. For example, we know we have a soul. The human body has a soul, and the spirit animates the soul that's in the body. Did I say that backwards?
Say it again.
Girl, you know how I did in school?
Okay.
Okay, so you have a human body.
Yeah.
And then
Okay.
you have a soul that lives in the body. And then the spirit world is what animates the soul within the body. Sorry, Bobby. There we go.
Okay.
How you doing?
Okay. So okay, I think we're saying and thinking the same thing. I mean, I believe that we are spirit. So we are spirit beings and we are experiencing physicality in this dimension. So we're in the third dimension. So we're experiencing physicality in this dimension. And so our spirit is what animates. We're saying the same thing, I think.
I think so too.
I think so too. Do you think so?
Yeah.
Are we in agreement?
We are.
Okay, good. So yes, I think so. But yes.
Light beings.
Oh, absolutely.
Soulmates.
Yeah.
Twin flame souls.
Yes.
And inner light.
Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely. I think we're made of light. That's my feeling.
Oh, I think so too.
Because I remember having, I know. I did have a dream once about seeing myself in my future life. I mean, you had dreams of your future self. Have you had dreams of your
As
future
a
self?
little boy, but it was before I looked like this.
Well,
And
but
I
it
saw,
doesn't change.
No,
Yeah.
it does
Yeah.
change too. Each decade, all this love impact on you.
No. I know,
Bear.
but I'm just saying the fact that you saw as a child, your future self.
I was way
that
cuter
hasn't,
when
that
I saw as a
hasn't-
child. Meaning, whenever I can remember crying because my mom and dad were fighting, and
Yeah.
Bobby ran over Terry with a motorcycle, and I was drugged behind the motorcycle because Bobby decided I needed to not have my popsicle.
Bobby, I told you not to drag him.
No, this isn't Bobby. That's not my brother. This is Bobby.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, very different. Bobby. But I remember being so sad and so hating everything about Earth or the people I was hanging out with. I didn't get a choice because I couldn't leave the yard or the single wide trailer. Oh, God.
Yeah.
And I remember sitting there going, what the F am I going to do? And then the moment I said it, I was walking along the creek because we had a creek on our property. And it was always my, resolution to go into nature.
Yeah.
And the moment I asked the question, I saw this image of me as an adult, but I didn't know it was me as an adult. Talking about spirituality, metaphysics, your soul is here for a reason.
Yes. Yeah.
And it immediately calmed me down.
It gave you hope.
Yeah, then I went and climbed a tree and just sat in there.
Yep. Yeah, I understand that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I understand that.
What was the craziest experience you had as a kid or growing up with a spiritual helper? And did you get a name or receive? I knew my
Give me an example.
My main spirit guide is Benjamin.
Yeah.
And I've known Benjamin since I was in elementary school. And I had a bunch of guides because I would lay in the bed at night and because you couldn't ask your parents questions.
No, you
Why is this way? And da-da-da. And what happens if the earth shifts on its axis? Do trailers fly off the earth? And why does God hate tornadoes and trailers? And I couldn't ask any of the healthy questions.
Yeah.
So I would lay in the bed at night, every night when I was put in the bed, and I would quietly ask the questions, and they would come in, and they would always answer every question. And you know how wonderful kids are. You would ask the same question 37,496.2 times.
Yeah.
And they would always answer it with absolute grace and love and that good feeling. And I remember in elementary school, they're showing the teachers reading a book, and we have the book on our desk somehow. And no, it was like the overhead projector, remember?
Oh, I
1796.
do. Yeah.
And then we're looking at it on the wall, and then it's Abraham Lincoln when he was a boy growing up, and the parents had gone out that night for something and come back, and there were footsteps across the roof of the cabin. And they were like, how did that happen? And then they got in all this trouble. And she said, do you know who did that? And I said, yeah, Abraham did. And I knew exactly that his brother held him. a certain way, and then he walked his feet on the roof and all of that. And then she's like, how do you know that? And I was like, well, Benjamin told me. She's like looking around like there's no kid in our class named Benjamin.
I know, she's thinking that's your little private friend.
Yeah, well, I didn't do that anymore after that.
Oh, yeah. You don't. You don't want to say.
No. So what was a crazy, weird experience you had with a spirit guide or angel or your own soul saying, bitch, don't do that?
Ooh. I think that as I was growing up, the craziest thing ever happened to me. Well, I think that when I was learning how I'm just saying when I was learning how to channel, something that comes to my mind is that I would get warnings. You know, I was dating someone, you know, as a young person, and this person was not, I know him very well, was not of the highest character. And I remember a voice in my head telling me to stop. To stop.
Dating him.
Stop.
And what happened?
Well, eventually that person became a drug addict.
Oh.
And I just knew that if I continued, it's almost an overall knowing. I just knew if I continued to date this person that I would die.
Yeah, and because sensitive, intuitive people were so highly suggestible and impressionable at the same time.
Yeah.
We want to do whatever we need to do to prove that we love them, and hopefully we get some love back. Well, and with people like that, it's a give, never receive.
It was interesting because that was my first serious relationship. But I just knew. I woke up one day and I just knew it. And I literally broke up with him that day.
Wow.
And he just couldn't quite understand. What am I going to tell him? Well, I had a dream that if I keep dating you, I'm going to die. So no, yeah, I totally.
Did you just ghost him?
No, I told him.
Okay.
Oh, I don't think they did ghosting at those days.
As long as Eve ghosted Adam.
What?
Yeah, I'm sure it happened.
You sure?
Yeah, but we didn't call it ghosting then. So when I started conscious channeling or doing readings,
yes.
One of the books that helped both of us is Sanaya Roman's Sanaya.
Or Sanaya.
Yes, yeah. Sanaya, you say it correctly.
Well, we'll ask.
Sanaya Roman's book, Opening to Channel. And I was already a channel. I was already doing readings. I was already receiving all of this information. Yeah. But I was just literally like this frenetic ball of electricity banging around on the earth, playing zapping people.
Well, you were exercising your gifts.
Yeah, I just didn't know what I was doing. And then I started reading her book, Opening to Channel, and I got grounded immediately. I also learned that it's not like, hey, up there.
Oh, yeah, no.
Because they don't hear words. They hear the frequency of the word. They feel the energy, not the words or the action or the hard work or the good work. None of that. They don't respond to any of that. They only say yes to how you feel. So Sanaya taught me to speak the feeling language or the invisible language of emotion to non-physical so that I could get back results. And I was always way better at receiving for my clients and friends than I ever was receiving for myself.
Oh, yeah, you can't forget about yourself.
Yeah, it's the weirdest thing. And so my friend Barbara and I, we'd read the book cover to cover. And we bought the book on a Monday. We read it before the weekend. And then we got together because we were going to learn how to conscious channel on the weekend.
Oh, yeah.
With Sanaya Roman.
Well, she gave great exercises. And every single chapter had a great exercise.
We went through the chapters over the course of the weekend. With a video camera. Yeah. Remember those giant video cameras look like refrigerators on your shoulder? With a VHS tape that went right in. And so we set the camera up, and I went home and watched it. I looked like I was having a 14-karat gold bowel movement. I was sitting there, I was like, my guides are here. I can feel them because it was so unfamiliar.
Yeah,
and I destroyed that tape.
Sure.
Because because it was the exact opposite. It wasn't relaxed, which is how you receive. It wasn't meditative, which is how you receive. I wasn't even really asking. I was just sort of like just throwing out a net to see which dead person comes in and F's my life up.
Oh, no.
How was your first experience with it? Well, you probably snap, crackle, and popping and all over the place. It's like, I see Randy, I see da-da, I see da-da.
No. Well, interesting. Like, I did get guidance before I read the book. I tried a few of the exercises, and meditation was easy for me. And I wasn't fearful, but I wanted to get a teacher to guide me through all of this. So that's where I found Sean Randall.
Wow.
Sean Randall, amazing. And so we would have class, and I think I was one of the last people to bring my guide through. And it was amazing. And the way that I have to say about that is that, when you're channeling or you're receiving energy, the enlightened beings, their frequency is so high. There's no way that they can, just talk to us like that. So they're actually stepping down their energy.
And we're raising
And then we're
up.
raising ours up. So we're meeting together in a shared awareness field. And that's where we're at. So we kind of step aside, and that's where we gain the information. They utilize our words, our memories, our vocabulary, our knowledge, and that's
because
what they use.
They were there before we were born. Meaning they're all part of what was up there non-physical with our souls and our spirit before we entered into a physical body. So when we wake back up to how to communicate with spirit, then they just pick up where they left off when they said, okay, good luck down there on Earth in North Carolina in the 60s, you homosexual. Let us know how that works out for you.
No, well, I get what you're saying. It's, you're asking me my experience. I think that it takes a little time for you to get used to the energy.
Yes.
Because if you don't know it, and if, again, you're learning a process, anyone can do it. You're learning, or you're raising your energy field up higher. And then they're bringing theirs down, and you're meeting together. And so just the adjustment of energy, you're getting used to. They're getting used to that, and you're getting used to that. So it's a partnership.
And you'll take a beating in the beginning. Did you take a beating in the beginning when you were learning to raise your frequency? I went like from Ford Pinto and I went to like 18-wheeler, and I had to back that shit back down to Mustang convertible.
No, you know what? I actually embraced it. I really loved it. I liked it.
I loved it too, but in the beginning,
but it
didn't beat you up because it was natural to you.
No, it didn't beat me up at all.
Wow.
And it was interesting. Don't be jealous.
Don't be jealous of my boogie. RuPaul.
No, but when I think the first time I channeled, I was astounded, because it's almost like you're seeing yourself.
Yeah, but you're out of your body.
Well, you're stepped aside. I want to say you're stepped aside. I want to say out of the body, but you're just stepped aside, and because we're energy, we're saying the same thing. And you're just looking. It's like you're looking at what's happening, and the words are coming through. The information is coming through, and not every channel is visual.
Yeah.
You may not see what's going on. Sometimes not at all. Like, look at Edgar Cayce.
Yeah, the sleeping prophet.
Did you read any of his books? I'm sure you did.
I did, and I went to the Edgar Cayce Institute back in the day, and we sat in his institute doing the ESP test.
That is so cool.
And we had so much fun doing it.
I loved all his books.
Oh,
Yeah.
I did too. There's so many teachers, books, and things that changed our lives.
So what book? I know we were going to talk about some books, but I know that for you, Abraham Hicks is a big influence.
Abraham Hicks. And it's funny, I don't tell people this.
Yeah. Okay, don't tell. Don't listen, anyone.
Yeah, Barbara and I in the beginning, we're going through this Shirley MacLaine, Sylvia Brown, and blah blah. We're going through all of it, and then Abraham, I would, every weekend we would get together, and she would ask me questions and I would answer them. And then we started channeling this being named Abraham. And that went on for like a year or a year and a half.
You were channeling.
Yes.
And Barbara.
This being named Abraham. And so we were good friends with this lovely, beautiful woman named Sharon. And she had gone up to Asheville, North Carolina for a retreat. She fell in love with it up there. And the woman who had the retreat, and she came back down the mountain. And it's a 4-hour drive. And she came straight to my place, knocked on my door, and handed me an Abraham Hicks album of cassette tapes.
Oh, wow.
One on money, one on love, relationships, one on work, one on career, one on all of these things. It was like 6 little things in there. And she said, as soon as I saw this, I freaked out because you've talked to me about somebody named Abraham before. And long story short, I listened to them, those 6 tapes. To get to work, it took me a little over an hour one way. To get home, a little over an hour. Then I would go to my second job. Then I would go to my third job, and I would come home. I memorized all 6 of those tapes in the course of 6 months. That's all I listened to in the car. And I could lip sync 90-minute cassette tapes.
Wow.
Anywhere you picked it up, I was... Abraham Hicks would say, I was tuned in, tapped in, turned on to the stream of pure positive energy that creates worlds. And I was.
But you were, again, so it's energy and frequency.
Yes.
You were in that frequency.
And now after that, I never channeled Abraham again because I just knew that was the prequel for me to pull this to me. Changed my life. I went from working this much and making this much money to working this much and making this much money doing my life's work. And so I started listening to Abraham religiously and then went through round 2 of it. And long story short, I went from working 3 jobs, barely paying my bills, to doing this for a living.
Yes.
And able to move out to California and do this for the last 26 years.
Amazing.
And so Abraham Hicks, for me, is Sinea Roman, Sylvia Brown, Shirley MacLaine, and all of the rest of them on steroids. Because I felt like they were part of my home planet energy or soul tribe.
That was your defining moment.
Oh, that was the tipping point, child.
There's always a defining moment, right?
Yeah. And one of the big stories from that is Barbara and I were testing it.
Yeah,
we're still doing the opening to channel, still listening to Abraham, and I'm immersed in it. And
well, that's the only way to do it.
100%. And she would say, "Okay, let's say we want clients, and we want $100,000 advertising budget." And I was like, "What you talking about?" And she's like, "Well, let's just put it out there, and let's see what happens." So we put it out there. And I kid you not, within something crazy like a couple of weeks, the biggest radio station in North Carolina called, and they were doing auditions for this psychic named Sharon Capehart back in the day.
What's her name?
Sharon Capehart.
Okay.
Big old Texas psychic.
Okay.
She's from Texas. She didn't play Puff.
Okay.
And she was looking for someone she could transfer the spirit of Nostradamus into on live FM radio.
What?
With the biggest station in North Carolina.
What?
So, I marched my little big sissy butt in there, and I'm like, "Hey, girl." And she auditioned everybody, and she picked me. And then the next morning, the first thing I'd ever done publicly for the whole conservative state of North Carolina to hear on a national syndicated morning show. And I'm laying on the floor. Sharon Capehart's doing her thing. We transfer the spirit of Nostradamus live on the air in the back room, mic'd up. And the next thing I know, people were like, "We're going to kill you and burn your house down." But, we love what you did.
Sure.
And then a gentleman drove from Virginia to North Carolina to get a reading with me, who was friends with the program director at G105, the station, and got a reading. And in the reading, it was predicted he would come to Los Angeles and do whatever he was going to do here, which was magnificent. And he said, if that happens, I'll hook you up.
Sure.
Well, it happened. He hooked me up, put me on the radio out here, and everything we asked for happened in a way that we could not have even imagined it to happen. We got $100,000 worth of free PR.
Nice.
And publicity, and we got to leave our jobs and come do this for a living in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
And that was the other big giant tipping point, too.
Sure.
Because it was that purity of connecting to our spiritual helpers via your feelings, your attitudes, your emotions, and not your mouth.
Exactly.
Yeah, girl, child.
Very cool,
what?
girl.
That's what I'm saying. What? Not today.
And what? What did you do?
What? Who?
Nostradamus in the radio? Mm-hmm. Did it work?
Well, we were brought into chance channel transfer.
I just can't imagine how that can happen.
It happened.
Whatever, yeah.
And
energy, again, electrical.
Well, you know what?
Yeah.
Child, listen.
What?
She wanted us to channel transfer the spirit of Jimmy Hoffa.
What?
And I went in anyway.
Okay.
Because I just kept my energy high because I knew how to then.
Exactly.
And got in there. She said, we've got to change plans. We're not going to do Jimmy Hoffa anymore. We're going to, because they wanted to know where he was buried. Okay.
Oh.
Who cares?
Who cares?
Well, the mob does.
Yeah.
But she said, we've changed it to Nostradamus.
Okay, she already knows what she does.
Well, she knew. I didn't know.
That's what she does.
Yeah. So it's not like I could go home and on a computer in 1990 and Google Nostradamus information. And it was sick. It was crazy.
Really?
Yeah, girl.
Interesting.
We don't play in the South.
Okay, I'm just saying.
Until we leave and get out of there. Because that's how we roll. We roll out of the state and we come someplace else. I wanted to live someplace where we could all be the Coca-Cola commercial and teach the world to sing in perfect harmony. Yeah. I wasn't getting that in the trailer park where I was.
You're so funny. Edward, you're hysterical.
So I think we both agree that we all have spiritual helpers.
Yes, we do.
And out of our list, what are your top 3 favorite helpers that you feel like work with you on a consistent basis?
I think the angelic beings.
Those are my fave.
I think that, Earth, Gaia. I think that the first energy that I sensed when I started channeling, the very first one was the Earth energy.
Yeah.
Because the Earth energy reached out to me. It was rather interesting because I just started taking class and then I was working. Like my job, I had a corporate job.
Yeah.
And I was working at my corporate job. It was very busy, blah, blah, blah. A lot of, then all of a sudden I was just standing at my desk and all of a sudden I could feel this energy reaching out to me. And it's female. The Earth is a female energy.
Yeah.
But it happened and I just go, what is going on? I'm talking to myself, what's going on? And I said, oh, no. It happened again.
Yeah.
Happened several times after that. And I said, whoa, this is amazing. So I think that in the beginning, when you're first doing it, a lot of these experiences propels you forward so you can be more interest.
100%.
So that you can go forward knowing that this is the right path for you. So if this is happening, so then after that, I went even more so into, took more seriously my class, So.
And because the way the spirit world works is every time you take a step, a leap of faith, even if it's a
leap
baby
of
step,
faith, actually. Yeah.
And it's uncharted, it's unknown, it's foreign. And you can almost think in the beginning, if you don't do the work or ground yourself into the earth, you'll start to think you're a little crazy.
Yeah.
And so each baby step is a quantum leap in itself in the beginning, because then it throws open more doors and more windows. Yeah. My favorite are the celestial beings, of course, the angels.
Yeah.
My regular guides that talk to me all the time, and any master teacher that wants to slip in through the cracks and go, "What you doing?"
Oh yeah.
And I'm just like, I live for it. So, in recapping today's show on spiritual helpers, everything from the earth to the invisible world to spirit guides, angels, ghosts, sometimes even dead people will head you off at the pass and give you guidance if you're open to receive it.
Yes.
And you have to learn to communicate with the spirit world via their language frequency, which is a feeling, attitude, thought, frequency kind of thing versus words.
Well, yeah, yes, and no. And, I mean, this is where we don't. Okay, yes and no. In that.
No, wait. It's yes, and no.
Yes. Okay. Yes, and no. Okay. Yes, I feel that we need to learn to communicate. So we do that via meditation.
Yeah.
Quieting ourselves and clarifying this communication. And as the communication gets stronger and your connection to this communication, this non-physical world gets stronger, then it becomes easier.
Yeah.
And then you learn to maneuver this non-physical world. But in regards to like ghosts or, people who are more close to the astral plane, more to the physical plane, sometimes they're not so nice.
Oh.
Sometimes they are nice. Sometimes they're helping and sometimes they're not helping at all. So I think that, education.
Yes.
You need to educate yourself and not do anything crazy, to try to do this. Like a lot of times I see like a lot of these TV shows
where they just wet behind the ears go into a haunted asylum where 5 million people were murdered and they go, hey, why would you do that? Because they're going to whip your ass.
Yeah. No, sometimes when I see these things, I go, really takes me aback. And
Well, they just stir the energy up more. Even Amy will come in from the Dead Files, and she's like, they have already had people here stirring the hornet's nest up.
Yeah. And where before it was fine, now they're upset.
Well, and also, some of our favorite teachers are Abraham Hicks and Sanaya Roman.
Yes.
And the great thing about Sanaya especially is she's very meditative. She's very celestial in her voice, her frequency.
She feels very, very ethereal.
She does.
Right?
The first time I ever did a Sanaya Roman guided meditation, I swear I'm laying there and I'm like, she sounds so familiar. She sounds so familiar. And then I realized she sounds just like Lonnie Anderson in WKRP in Cincinnati. And I was like, Lonnie? Sanaya? Lonnie? Yeah. It threw me off, but I love every one of her meditations. But she's very, I'm going to use the word, and it's not the highest frequency word, but it matches. It's a passive, meditative, space-holding, light imbuing vibration.
That's perfect.
And I was always the go girl.
No. Yeah.
And then I learned she's the one who taught me to sit still. Man, I'm not joking. Just this little red thing went just like this. Right across your third eye and went like this. It red and it disappeared.
Really?
Yeah, girl. What you doing afterwards?
I don't know.
You got your third eye
Probably
open?
having a pizza.
Hey, girl, you don't be
Probably
playing
saw
with
the
me
pepperoni.
Like that. That's what it was. My third eye pepperoni. It wasn't my pineal gland. It was my pepperoni gland.
So let me ask you something.
Okay.
Were you religious when you were growing up?
We grew up around a lot of religion, and I never felt like I fit in. First of all, nobody in Bible class could answer my questions.
Okay, I was going to say.
And then I learned very quickly you're not allowed to ask questions.
Yeah.
But no, there was a lot of devout, restricted, tight-reined Southern Baptist, Presbyterian stuff. And Mama, to her credit, because she was raised in that craziness, and by craziness, I mean her family.
Yes.
With the church doors were open.
Sure.
They were parked there. Grandma with all 13 of her youngins sitting there.
Yep.
And it was just fun to watch the collection plate just keep going by without nothing in it.
Yeah.
And Mama said, if you want to go to church, you can go to church.
Yeah.
If you don't want to go to church, don't go to church. You find your path.
That's
she
right,
said,
yeah.
but my ass will not park itself in another church for the rest of my life because of her personal, what she lived through with it. When her first experience, her first memory of church, she was 4 or 5 years old. They went to a big homecoming kind of event.
Yeah.
And as Grandma and all the youngins.
Sure.
They're sitting there, and the preacher, hellfire, brimstone, standing up there. And there was a woman who had a baby. She'd had a hard time having a baby for a long time. She had a baby. And so she was home with the baby for 6 months or something like that.
Sure.
And so she wasn't coming to church as frequently.
Sure.
So he's up there doing his screaming, and he says, Sister Sally, stand up and tell the congregation what you learned this Easter Sunday. She stands up. In my era, men talked at women.
Oh, sure.
Not to them.
Yeah.
And demeaned them. And that's all I grew up seeing. And Mama was explaining it. She was 4 or 5. And she was sitting there on the wood pew next to Grandma. And the woman stood up, and she was trying not to cry.
Yeah.
And she said, well, I had my baby. Thank you everyone for praying so that I would have my baby. And it took a long time, and da-da-da-da-da. And then she said, and the good Reverend pointed out to me this weekend that God took my baby from me because I stopped coming to church. And Mama said, I knew in my soul.
That's not right.
Right then, that how dare he?
Yeah, yeah.
And Grandma was turned around like this, listening to the woman. She turned back around. She went, that's right. Amen, Jesus.
No.
And Mama said, never again. She said, they lost me right there. She said, because the God I feel in my heart and the Christ I feel in my soul would never take something you love to prove a point.
Sure.
Otherwise, only man does that.
Sure.
And so I did. I went to church for about 2 or 3 years. I was like, oh, not for me.
Yeah.
And then, look, spiritual Gaby was born.
Yeah, no, I was just wondering. Because, like, I know that my mother, she's Filipino. So we're Filipino. So they're very Catholic. And we're not that, we weren't religious. I think we were growing up. I mean, we go to on holidays or Sundays, you know, like, but my father was from Iowa.
Oh.
So where is that, Midwest? Is that what, Midwest?
Yes, the Midwest.
Okay, so he, you know, they met after the Second World War. So anyway, but we wouldn't go to church. And so, but as I was growing up, because of my experiences, my psychic experiences, my dream state was very much having to do with God, goddess, all of this. They're talking to me to the point of, like, I would have spiritual poetry, and they would tell me about God and this and that. And
which was loving and inclusive and unifying.
Yeah. And I remember I was the only one who went to catechism, to the choir. I was in the choir. Nobody else did that. You know, I just wanted to. But I remember growing up being a little religious. Yeah, definitely religious.
Yeah.
By myself. But I didn't do that, you know, every Sunday thing. We never did that.
Yeah. Oh,
you know, but I had a real close relationship with that energy of God, goddess.
So Grandma had 120 pictures of Jesus Christ, her Lord and Savior, on every wall in her condemned house, covered with soot from the wood stove in the living room and the kitchen. And she would tell you what God was thinking. And she would tell you what Jesus thought of you. Even if you're minding your own business, sitting behind the stove, flicking spiders and centipedes off of you, quietly, because you couldn't talk.
Oh, sure.
And I remember her, when she was in a bad mood, everybody knew it. And she was just in a bad mood and being just hateful. Then she marched back into the kitchen, cooking. And I was just with my head down, and I was like, is any of that true? Am I really this awful, horrible person? Do I need to look at this the way she's saying I am? And I looked up, and there was one main picture of Jesus. And it was one of the beautiful pictures, not where he's hanging on a cross with a crown of thorns and blood dripping down him. And it was a beautiful picture with the universal heart, and it had the gold frame.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
And when the deep freezer would kick in, the light on the frame would go zzz.
Yeah.
So it looked like he was in a disco. And I just raised my head up. Sorry, Bobby. I raised my head up, And the picture of Jesus, I swear it was like this, and he goes. And I was like, oh my God, Jesus loves me. And so I needle pointed a whole thing of Jesus loves me that day. And whenever Mama came and picked us up, she saw it. Grandma was so proud of me.
Of course.
Because Jesus loved me.
Exactly.
And I didn't tell her the story. I just, and Mama saw it. She went, oh, that's nice, Edward. And I asked her years later what she thought about it. She said, I was terrified. I thought Grandma finally got you. So, and then, that was my stint in religion.
Because I was wondering how you resolve that.
I left.
Okay, so that
Totally, because it felt the opposite of what I felt in my heart.
That's right. So you have your own personal.
Yeah. I think that heart chronicity, that soul chronicity, no one can speak that language but your higher beingness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Your higher self, your whatever you want to call it.
So, Miss Liz.
Yes, baby.
What is it you want to leave our folks with today? And don't say a pepperoni third eye pizza. Because that's classy. I want me some pepperoni.
I think that what we talked about today about how you choose your parents before you come to this earth and your spirit guides.
Yes.
That spirit guides come in many different shapes and forms and energies. Can you say energies?
Yeah, 100%.
And also about your experience, Abraham Hicks.
Came to what's the old saying? When the student is ready, the teacher will appear.
Exactly.
And each level we get to, regardless if it's the celestial beings or if it's a master teacher or a trance channeler, it doesn't matter. When the moment your heart and soul is ready for the next stage, boom, it comes in like gangbusters. And then you have to choose to allow it or not allow it.
You have choice.
Be in it or not be in it. Free will, child.
Yeah, there's no obligation. There's choice.
Obligation? What'd you say?
And I think that's what we should talk about next time is choice.
I like choice and free will.
Exactly.
We have to do that with the Liz Eddie backdrop. You ready?
Okay.
Hold on. Because we don't play, bitches. Okay. So everybody, thanks for watching the Liz and Eddie show. I'm Eddie Connor.
And I'm Liz Lyu.
And we've been talking about your spirit helpers.
Yes.
Pepperoni and all.
Exactly.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.